Hello my shadow hunters and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be discussing the awesomeness that was Ghost of the Shadow Market. Now just a little disclaimer for all you people that don't know if they can read this or not. First off, it's really good. If you haven't read it, holy crap, you have to read it. You have to read it. If you haven't read it, this is the universe telling you that you must. Now, my recommendation is to read The Infernal Devices, The Mortal Instruments, Shadowhunter Academy, and The Dark Artifices before you start reading Ghost of the Shadow Market. Like, you don't want to be spoiled on everything that happens in The Dark Artifices, The Infernal Devices, just like anything. You don't want to be spoiled, so like, make sure you're caught up before you start this. And also, I recommend that you read this before you read Chain of Gold, because oh, holy crap, there's some stuff that's like really important to know that is most likely going to be in Chain of Gold. I'm just like so excited. We're building up to Chain of Gold, and this book also builds up to the Wicked Powers, which comes out in like, I believe like 2022, so you've got some time. You got some time, but Chain of Gold comes out March 3rd, so you better get on it. So I'm literally just gonna jump right in. First off, 5 out of 5 stars. Wonderfully written, beautiful. I loved it. It was so good. Everything I ever wanted in a Shadowhunter book. This book has gotten me so much more excited for Chain of Gold, so much more excited for the Wicked Powers. Just like, it just makes my Shadowhunter heart just like flutter. I loved seeing characters like Jem and Tessa and Ty and Kit and just so many other characters, and like we learned more about characters that are going to be in Chain of Gold, and we learned more about their backstory. You know, some stuff that's probably gonna happen in Chain of Gold because of events that happened in this book. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, guys. Anyway, so that's all I can really say that won't spoil you. Like, if you haven't read it and if you haven't caught up on all the other books, like, you need to. So that's your warning, because I'm going into spoiler stuff. This is your warning. Heed the warning. This takes place in 1901, which is kind of around the timeline of Chain of Gold. And our main characters are obviously Jem, because Jem is like the main character in like every single novella. Because it's centered around Jem's, like, you know, his shadow market adventures. In this novella, we get to know Matthew a lot better. It was so great seeing Matthew and James like friendship. They're such like great parabetite, and I'm so excited to see more of that in Chain of Gold. Obviously, throughout all these novellas, like, Jem's mission is to find the lost Herondale, and that's exactly what he's doing in this novella. He's searching for something, searching for clues, searching for the lost Herondale. This novella was like one of the saddest ones, but also one of my favorite ones, because we're going back to the timeline before Chain of Gold, around Chain of Gold, and it's like leading up to Chain of Gold. And if you haven't gotten the gist from what I've been saying for the past, like, I don't know, 5 minutes, I am so excited for Chain of Gold. And Matthew has become one of my favorite characters already. He's so funny, and like his humor reminds me of Will so much. And one of my favorite parts in The Infernal Devices was Will and his insistent humor. Like, everything that Will says is like so funny, and like everything that Matthew says is like so funny. He's such a cheery character. Like, he's so loving and like cheery and just happy. But then it kind of goes wrong in this novella, like really bad. So it goes back to Alistair Carstairs telling Matthew that his dad is not Henry, that it is actually Gideon Lightwood. This Alistair Carstairs, like, I don't know what I just don't like him already. It's just, I like him because he's a Carstairs, because, you know, we love the Carstairs. The Carstairs owe the Herondales. But this Carstairs, he's just kind of not my cup of tea. Oh, and like Thomas Lightwood, he's kind of got a crush on Alistair, and like, why he likes him, I don't know, because Alistair is just like he's not the best. Then Matthew goes to the Shadow Market with Alistair's like story, his lie in his head. Is it even a lie? I'm pretty sure it's a lie. I'm pretty sure like it was debunked like right after like the really bad stuff happened, that like it was all a lie, which he should have just like went to someone, like went to James, went to like Lucy, went to his mom for all, and be just like, hey, Alistair told me this. Is it true, Mom? Like, it's just so sad that this happened, and just Basically, the fairy tells Matthew the potion that she's giving him will make people tell the truth. And so he gives it to Charlotte, his mom, thinking like, okay, so she's gonna take this and I'm gonna ask her the question and she's gonna have to tell me the truth. But then she like falls over and she loses her baby. Why? We all know that this fairy that we learn is actually like one of the keepers of the true heir, and she took care of the true heir, and then the true heir fell in love with a Herondale because obviously how could she not? She has this vendetta against Herondales, and she knew that Matthew was James Herondale's parabatai, so she kind of wanted to hurt the Herondales by hurting one of their parabatais. And now, like, after that's happened, like, Matthew is so, like, moody, not really his self. Like, we kind of see glimpses of him in the other novellas, and he's just, like, not himself anymore because he's, like, holding this burden that he's the one that accidentally killed his other sibling before she or he was even born. And I just don't know how that's gonna play out in Chain of Gold. I'm excited to see it, but also it's just like really sad. One of my favorite novellas, but probably one of the saddest ones in here. Now this novella is all about Anna Lightwood. This novella was probably also one of my favorites. It was so heartwarming and like I just loved it. Anna Lightwood is like living this lie. She likes women and she hasn't really told her mother or her father, even though they basically know. And sometimes late at night she goes and she dresses like a man. She dresses in Christopher's clothing. We'll talk about Christopher in a second because let me just tell you, I loved him. So Anna meets this character, Aradne, and they go and they train together. They form this relationship, this romance. In the back of this novella, there is Jem Carstairs, and he is still looking for more information about the Lost Herondale, but he's also looking for information about Tessa's dad, who we freaking find out is a prince of hell. Like what? So that means that James Herondale's granddaddy is actually a prince of hell. Kind of makes sense because James has all these abilities and so does Tessa. I don't really know if Lucy has any abilities. That'll probably be something we see in Chain of Gold, like if she has any abilities at all. So that was very interesting to learn. Anna Lightwood and Aradne go to this club that Matthew showed her, and there's this lady, Leopold, and she is killing humans just for fun, just to teach them a lesson, you know. After the club, Anna and Aradne go back to Aradne's place and they have like a romantic night together, and then she wakes up. This is so sad. She wakes up and she goes to find Aradne, and Aradne is supposed to be engaged to Charles Fairchild, and she basically just like tells Anna in like the most like unemotional way that she's basically using her. She's like, oh, we can be together, but when Charles comes back after like a year, like I'm gonna have to be faithful to him because, you know, it's just what is expected of me. This was so heartbreaking, especially for Anna. And then she goes back to her room. She goes back home. And Cecily, oh, it's so good seeing Cecily. It's so weird and different seeing her as like a mother. And she comforts Anna and she tells her that she just loves her, and she hands her this outfit, and it is exactly an outfit that Anna loves. Trousers and a suit, and Anna cuts off her hair and she goes downstairs. And Gabriel and Cecily are there and they start talking about, oh, you know, I knew that color would look good on her. I just love Cecily and Gabriel as parents. They're such loving parents, and they don't turn away from Anna. They just like embrace her for who she is. Cecily gives Anna the necklace, like the red necklace that eventually Isabel Lightwood will have. So great seeing that. It's just like everything is like connecting and I just love it. Okay, let's talk about Christopher Lightwood. This boy, I already can tell, is going to be one of my favorite characters. He's kind of like a scientist just like Henry. It's weird that Christopher is not Henry's son, that he's a Lightwood, because he resembles Henry so much. And he's so blunt too, because when he met Aradne was like, oh, you went to the Shadowhunter Academy. And then Christopher goes, not anymore. I caused one of the wings to explode. Just casual conversation, just like that. One of my other favorite parts was when Aradne was talking about Anna and like the Lightwood like family history, and Anna just goes, my grandfather was a worm. And Aradne was like, oh, like you didn't like him? And Anna was like, I didn't know him. He was quite literally a worm. Oh my gosh. Also, one of my other favorite parts was when she went to talk to like James and like Lucy and all them, and she's like asking James like about book recommendations, and James is just like, oh, I have all these books here. Do you like this one? Do you like this one? Oh, this one I think you would like. Oh my gosh, James Herondale is a bookworm. My love for him grows every single second that I learn more about him. Like, please, I need Chain of Gold now. Like, reading this made me want to read Chain of Gold so bad. I also enjoyed learning more about Jem and the Silent Brothers. Like, the Silent Brothers can like creep in on Jem's like thoughts and like his memories, and it's just so weird. Like, I would not want that. It's an invasion of privacy. But I also love that even though Jem is a silent brother, he still looks after and cares for the people that he loves. Like, he's actively trying to help Tessa, actively trying to help the Herondales, and I just like enjoyed that like so much. I love learning more about like just Jem and like his way of life through all those years that he wasn't really Jem, he was Brother Zachariah. And it's hard to say Brother Zachariah because like I just keep saying just Jem. Like, he's still Jem. Now, when I first read this title, I thought it was going to be about Katerina loss because, you know, learn about loss. Katerina loss. But it wasn't. It wasn't about Katerina at all. This novella was about Jem and this other girl, Amelia, and them investigating this like, it's kind of like a circus that is essentially making humans go crazy or mad. This takes place in 1936. So like right before Will dies. Learning about that and like hearing about it just like made me so sad. Like, the epilogue of Clockwork Princess, when we had to like literally read the scene of Will's death, made me cry because like it's Will. I love Will. Just like hearing about his death and like him being sick before his death is just like so hard to read. I just can't. I loved hearing the interactions between Jem and this girl Amelia because she wants to be an iron sister. Jem is obviously a silent brother, and she's like, well, you know, silent brothers can't tell jokes. Like, they have no sense of humor. She's like, do silent brothers have any kind of sense of humor, or do they stitch that up too? And Jem goes, we collect knock-knock jokes. And she's like, really? Do you have any favorites? And he's like, no. That was a joke. Really funny, Jem. Like, really funny. We also like meet this little kid, and his name is like Bill Doyle. So one of the princes of hell, you know, that we interact with in this short story, he gives him the gift of sight so he can see like all of like the Shadowhunter world and like everything. And like, you know, we never like hear about Bill again, but like what do you think happened to Bill in his later life? Like, do you think he probably went crazy because like he can see all these things and like nobody else can? Because like I was just thinking about that at the end of like reading this, like I wonder whatever happened to Bill Doyle. So we meet this Prince of Hell, and his name is Belial, and I know this is Tessa's dad because him and Jem, like, they know each other, like, and they just like, you know, it's her dad, and he's just like not really a great guy. Like, he has a suit made of human skin. That is disgusting. Gross. I cringed when I read that. So Belial basically tells Jem about these lost Herondales and about their enemies and like who's after them. But then he also wants to make like a trade with Amelia and Brother Zachariah. But Jem's like,
no, peace out. I'm not doing that.
But Amelia, this was like so heartwarming. She makes a deal with him, and in return, Belial gives Jem and Will this last moments together. Oh my god, the tears, my eyes are watering. Basically, it's like a daydream in their minds, and it's real. So like, and it's when Will and Jem are like young again, like right before they became parabatai, and they're in Shanghai, which is where, you know, Jem is from. And they like run through the streets together, like eating fried ducks, which I just think that was like so funny. And just being parabatai and being with each other. Their friendship is just like goals, and just I just love them so much. And it's just like so sad because you go back to the present and like, you know, Will is dead. Everyone that they knew is like dead. Jem like is constantly like always thinking about Will. Like, he has to go through the rest of his life without his parabatai, without Will. So it was sweet that they got that moment. Literally the next year in June, Will dies. This novella takes place in 1940 during World War II, and Katarina Loss and Tessa are nurses and they're helping in the war, like helping to heal humans, helping to like heal everyone. Jem is still trying to find more information about the lost Herondales, and he comes into contact with this fairy who tells him like, you know, stay out of our business, stay out of the lost Herondales. You don't want to know this information. I'm not going to tell you this information. I'm going to kill you so you can stop looking for them. So he stabs Jem with poison, and Jem has to go to the hospital with Tessa and Katarina Loss take him back to their house where they heal Jem. Now this one wasn't my favorite one. It was just like a lot of stuff happened, like action, you know, but it just like wasn't my favorite one. It was like after Will died, it just not a lot seemed to happen. It was just kind of boring to me. We didn't really learn a lot more information, and it just wasn't my favorite one, so I really didn't have like a lot to say about it. This one just really didn't capture my attention as much. We really didn't learn more. We just get this interaction with Jem and Tessa, which is like really sweet, but it's also really sad because they can't be together, because obviously at this point in time Jem is not healed, so he can't be with Tessa, but they still have this hope like we can be together one day, like one day we will be reunited. Tessa's like so sad because she's like afraid that like Jem is gonna die. She's just like, Will, if you're here, you have to help, like don't let him die. She's like, I cannot lose him too, Will. When Jem wakes up, him and Tessa like kiss, but like, which like honestly, is that against the rules? Like that has to be against the rules of the Silent Brotherhood. But oh well. And then Jem leaves Tessa with like a note, and it's just like, it's just sad because they can't be together at this point in time. So this one definitely wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed it. This novella messed me up. So this one is all about Celine, Jace's mom, and Stephen Herondale. So at this point in time in the novella, Amethyst and Stephen Herondale, like they are married. Like at first I was like, because Celine was like going after Stephen like so hard, like she wanted him so bad. So like I was like, oh, did like Stephen and Amethyst, like did they already like get divorced? But like no, they're still together. We do learn more about Celine. We find out that her parents locked her in the basement and all this like weird stuff, like so she wasn't really loved very well. It was really sad learning about her like backstory because it wasn't a happy one. So she's never learned love, but the only person that she really loves is Stephen Herondale. It makes sense why her decision at the end of the novella was what it was, because she's never learned love, yet she's so deeply in love with Stephen Herondale. That's all she wants is Stephen Herondale. She does have this conversation with Jem, brother Zachariah, just talking about how much she loves him and that like he doesn't know that she exists and like all this stuff. Celine, Stephen, and Robert Lightwood are there on behalf of Valentine because he told them to investigate a warlock there at the Shadow Market. And we all know that it was all a setup essentially. But the warlock comes to talk to Celine and she's just like, oh, I'm just looking for a love potion. Stephen walks up and the warlock like sprays him with some stuff and it makes him kind of like fall in love with Celine, and he kisses her. This man is married. Some of the stuff he says while he's like on this like potion or whatever is kind of funny though.
Like, I miss you. You're so cute when you're bloodthirsty.
Okay, dude. And then Celine hears this conversation between Stephen and Robert Lightwood. He's like, look, she's such a child. And he just like kind of just talks down on her like he would never get with her like ever, which we all know he does. And it's just, it's crazy to me because even after he's like saying all this stuff about her, she still wants him. And then Jem meets the lost Herondale. He meets Rosemary. Rosemary is like really smart because she's with Jack right now. She's trying to stay hidden. She ends up meeting Jem. Jem is like, no. I know you're the Herondale. And then we go back to Celine. She's confronting Valentine because of this setup that he had. Finds out that he literally is not trustworthy at all. Like, confirms everything that Rosemary said. Him and this warlock were in cahoots with each other. It was all a setup to set up her parents. He tells her, if you don't tell anybody about this, I will give you Stephen Herondale on a silver platter. Oh. This whole entire novella just made me so mad and like so upset. First off, because Valentine ruined everything. He just like ruined everything. He ruined Sebastian, aka Jonathan. If Jonathan never became Sebastian because of Valentine, like he probably would have been a normal human being, a normal brother. But then also like, would Jace even be alive. After reading this story, I just felt so bad for Stephen Herondale and Amethyst, because like Stephen Herondale was in love with Amethyst. They were married. Valentine manipulated him into breaking up with his wife to marry Selene, and then Selene and him had a baby, Jace. When Stephen was finally like coming to terms with like, oh, maybe Valentine isn't such a great guy, Valentine had him murdered and then took Jace and like raised him up as his own. It's just so messed up when you really think about Valentine and everything that he did. We all know that the Herondales, whenever they fall in love, they fall deeply in love and they love fiercely. Like they just will do anything for the person that they love. I would like to see a scene where Valentine is telling Stephen to break up with Amethyst. I would like to see how that conversation like went. I would also like to see the conversation where Stephen was like, listen, Amethyst, I think we should get a divorce. I'm gonna get with this other lady who's like 18 years old. Honestly, this was one of my favorite ones because it's like, it's a story and it's a timeline that we have not really gotten a lot. We haven't learned a lot about. So I was happy to learn more about it, but it just made me want to learn even more.